Hello and welcome back to my channel. I know I'm talking about other deep issues in life. Today we're going to talk about grief. But the reason I made this channel to begin with was really to inform you. And it's really to talk about things that affect why we act the way we act, why our emotions, are what they are, and discuss our beliefs and why we believe the things we believe. So the topic today we're talking about is how we manage grief. And so grief is the loss of something or someone, and it is the sorrow that is felt by that loss. It's pretty much, in a nutshell, what grief is. Now, something that may happen to me, I may not grieve about, but if the same thing happened to you, you may grieve about that thing. Well, it's because we're all different and we all have all these different emotions and behaviors. Grief is a hard one. I'm going to talk today a little bit about some of the things that can cause us grief. So let's say a loved one. You lose a loved one. You've been married to the individual for so many years, and you're joined at the hip, and that's been your great companion, and now you no longer have that companion. And I know that that causes a great source of grief. Now, grief, it could last a few weeks, could last a few years. But the only problem with it is that if you let it last for a long time and it's affecting your way of life and it's affecting your other relationships, then that's when grief really becomes a problem. So what if you lost your pet? You've had this pet for many years and you love this pet, and then this pet got sick and died. That could cause a person to grieve. What if you had a job? It could have been a good job, and it could have been a job that wasn't so great, but it was a job that you've been in for 10 years, and, this job was paying the bills, and then all of a sudden, you no longer have that job because they have layoffs. So then that could cause you, a sense of grief. Now, what if you were married to somebody for 10 years, and you thought that your marriage was wonderful, and your spouse comes home and says, I no longer want to be married to you. And for you, it's like out of the blue, they said they don't want to be married to me. I don't know what happened. What could I have done, to prevent this? I don't understand. I thought that we were in love. I thought that things were going well. So after the shock of that, then the next thing is it's the grief about it, because now it is you're trying to spend all this time trying to figure out why. And then also you no longer have that companionship from that individual. What about empty nesters? So you've raised children and you've tried to raise good children who will contribute to society. And now they're at the point where they've graduated and they are going off to college. What are you going to do with yourselves? What? So, empty nesters can, have a source of grief as well. So these are just a few examples, but there are many, many reasons why people grieve. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the stages of grief. Now, the first one is denial. And you're trying to figure out, the shock of it all. This has happened to me, and I don't believe it. How could it happen to me? And now I'm going to have to deal with the fact that this has happened. And then there's bargaining. So bargaining is you're trying to figure out, what could I have done? Would it have happened if I was there? And, I can't believe it. And you're just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? So, no, it's not a matter of it not happening when you were there or not. Things happen in life. And now some things we can control and some things we can't control. And death is one of the things we cannot control that. No matter if we were there sitting beside the person, if it was that person's time, it was that person's time. And then there's depression, because then you're thinking about, then all of your emotions are about the fact that now I'm going to not be with that person. And, what am I going to do? How am I going to live life with that individual? All of those things, all those emotions just start, going around in your mind. And then here it is, you're in a state of depression. Now, depression can happen because of lots of different things. But when it comes to grief, if you are in that constant state of depression, then your life is not progressing. You're pretty much stuck, in that situation. So then there's anger. You are mad at everybody. Why did I have to leave? Why did my husband have to die? And then she still has a husband. Why did God take my husband? Now here it is. Now I have to raise kids on my own. And here it is. So you're really, really angry about what has happened to you in your life. And then acceptance. And you finally get to the point where this happened. It happened to me. This happened to my family. And I know at this point, I am going to have to live with it. If you have been a stay-at-home mom and you've not worked, you haven't been in the workplace for a long time, now you've got to get out and you've got to work. Especially if you have a spouse and you all didn't have life insurance. So then there's no money coming in. So you have to get out and work. And so you've accepted the fact that it is what it is. And so because it is what it is, I've got to make a move. If I don't make a move, who's going to take care of my family? But grieving is a natural process. It's natural. It's normal. If you feel like you want to cry, cry. Nobody is stopping you from crying. Everybody has to deal with grief in their own ways. And you have some people who decide, well, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want you to call me. I don't want you to say, I'm sorry for your loss. You may be that person. But then at some point, the grieving process gets better. So if the grieving process doesn't get better, then that's when it becomes a problem. Because now you are living this life that is not the one that God intended, because you're living this life of grief. And then the people around you suffer because you're in this state of grief. And so there is a way to get past it. Now, people use this term, getting closure. I've got to have closure. But I don't even know if getting closure, even is an appropriate term, because the fact that you have had this loss, you're never going to forget that you have a loss. But what can happen is that you can live with the loss a lot easier. It won't be as painful, as time goes by. But hey, if you want to talk about it, check me out. Better Days, faithbasedcounseling.com. Have a blessed day.